My name is Jeremy.
And my name is Sean. We are going to be presenting today on the elicitation technique known as goal-based approaches.
Let's start off with some vocab. In our context, a goal is an objective the system is meant to achieve. Now, we want to elicit these goals from our shareholders, and we start with very high-level goals. And then we want to ask lots of why and how questions and try to get these higher-level goals decomposed and elaborated into a bunch of smaller sub-goals, which can be further refined until we get the requirements that we're trying to figure out. Now, these higher goals and sub-goals are often represented in these nice little tree structures, where you can see how it's all brought together. And there are many different approaches to get to this nice organized tree structure. There's the F3 project and the chaos meta model and the I framework, just to name a few. And who you talk to, different people will suggest different models for different things. But the most important thing is you want to get these precise individual goals out of these larger all-encompassing goals. Now, one thing that we found were something called a sprint goal, where you normally try to have your sprint goals where it can be accomplished in 1 to 4 week cycles. And these are really easy to be able to follow, and they're normally really well defined so that you know really easily how close you are to meeting these goals. And you can see progress, measure progress really easily. So in one of the readings it mentioned trying to find as many sprint goals as you can. Try to get it as refined as these brief little 1 to 4 week cycles. Now, there are many different kinds of goals. You have functional, and then you have non-functional goals. Functional, dealing more with the services that you provide, and then non-functional are more back-end kind of stuff with security, performance, how flexible you want your product to be. And then you have hard and soft goals. Hard can be verified easier, where soft goals are less clear-cut. Here's an example of kind of what I was talking about earlier, and it's an example with the university, where they went and they solicited first from the vice chancellor, which is the head of the university. And then from there they were able to break it down into smaller, more concise goals, talking to the deans of the different schools within the university. And from there even further into the individual departments.
There are many different ways that this technique can be beneficial. One is that it creates a check for completeness. It's really easy to see how far along or how well the requirements meet the complete scope of the project. Also, it can create a way to really make the SRS readable and easy to understand. It can be a driving force in the process, and it also creates a higher level of abstraction so that it's easier to think about the problems and the different items you might need to resolve.
There are a few problems with this technique. For one, the individual goals can be hard to extract. Now this is a problem with many techniques, but stakeholders can often change their mind, and the changes set back the elicitation process. A goal-based approach has a somewhat limited use. It is very useful when we know the broad requirements, but not many of the smaller and detailed requirements. However, if enough of the requirements are known or are a given, a simpler elicitation method such as card sorting or laddering is much more effective. Another way that a goal-based approaches will not work well is when time and resources are of the essence. The amount of time and complexity involved with this technique is comparable to writing the SRS document itself. On that note, engineers have spent significant effort to develop this technique due to its payoff. Our application of this technique led to some interesting data. We specifically got detailed requirements for the loop templates. Our while loop template should default to using false as the parameter so that it does not loop unless specified by the programmer. For the loop templates, we should check the variable does not iterate until and have the new integer be a letter not being used. The variable should be set to 0 and it should loop when it is less than 0. The default modification should be a postfix increment of the variable. Templates for comment blocks are useful for meeting the requirements of helping with style and also creating shortcuts. We were also able to gather requirements regarding helping to create more efficient programs. The two ways we got were to check for redundant variable declarations and to check for unnecessary if statements, as checking for them has a cost on the speed of the program. Thank you for your time, and we hope we have been informative.